Just let them take their seats and then we'll
Still behaving.
Put them in a cage, just kill them.
Right, okay. It's 7:30 and we shall start the Hilton Parish Council meeting on Monday the 6th of March. Thank you for coming. First item on the agenda is to receive any apologies for absence, and we have apologies from Councillor McCarthy, and we have apologies from the District Councillor Suckling and County Councillor Dew. And you've got something from Claire? So we'll come on to that in a moment. Number 241 is to receive Councillors' declarations. Any declarations?
Yes, 22, 23, 266, the last item.
Oh yes.
256 possibly. What's the
Oh, because you're part of the group
that's
that
sort
does
of
it.
help organise it, but I don't really know if that's relevant or not.
I don't think that's going to be an issue, and I'll repeat in 266 that I thank you for just the company that is the applicant. And have you received any dispensation requests? Okay, so at that point I will close the Parish Council meeting.
Sorry, I need to declare the same interest in 256, so I was just checking between the
Okay, I will now close the Parish Council meeting and open the meeting to the public. Any members of the public would like to say anything related to an agenda item?
Basically, I want to just chat about the waste on the wilderness. Since the last meeting, you've put barriers around, so thank you very much. That was appreciated. We now feel we can let our dogs loose up there. This meeting is to decide about the sort of £3,500 plus VAT, for waste removal.
Is it?
Well, that's what it
Hasn't
said
been
in the,
discussed yet.
it said, well, no, that's what it said in here.
It says spreading stroke disposing.
Yeah, it says up to cost £3,500
Yep.
plus VAT, well, plus, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it sounds like it's a darn sight less than what I heard on the grapevine out on the fields. I don't know whether that includes the toxicity test that one would assume that you have to, because you've got to find out whether it's hazardous or not. But even if it's not hazardous, I believe putting the waste on wilderness or spreading it is not a good idea. It's an amenity used by lots of people, including young children. It's also a wild meadow with lots of unusual plants in it. Spreading waste could have a detrimental effect to the soil because it will enrich it too much, and wild meadows thrive in poor soil with low nutrients. Also, if you spread it on this area, it could set a precedent for future actions with similar nature, which is concerning because you just don't know where it would stop. Anyway, therefore, I hope that with whatever the result of the toxicity test, this material is disposed of in a careful fashion, taking into regard this special area of the village.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah. Anybody else got anything they'd like to add? Hand up. Ian.
My item relates to 247, 20 mile limit.
Yeah.
I'm happy to wait until that item, bearing in mind it is responding to the survey, or I can ask my questions now, whichever you prefer, Mr. Chairman.
Well, let's have our discussion, shall we?
Yeah, I'm happy to come in at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the discussion done and you can see what's being said.
Thank you.
Okay. Andy?
Just to follow on from Lynn's comment about the waste up on the wilderness. I went up and had a good look around. Yes, it's fenced off, which is really good, but I was quite shocked to see how much glass, broken and unbroken, is in there, let alone metal and other shards. So
did you remove any of it?
It does say. Sorry.
Did you remove any of it whilst you were looking
I
at
couldn't go past the barriers. It shouldn't go on it. No. So I'm concerned if there's still a thought of spreading, unless it's going to be well filtered. Incredibly well filtered to get rid of all of that. Because I wouldn't like to let my dog or grandchildren or anybody up there, if it had been spread, and I'm sure the parish council wouldn't like the liability of injuries that are potentially caused by spreading something which is hazardous, not from the necessarily the chemical perspective, but also from the danger of shards of glass and other things.
Thank you. Everybody else finished? We'll ask Joel to say his bit. Hello, Joel.
Hello. I was town crier for the Jubilee, and to join the Honourable Guild of Town Criers, I have to have approval from the Parish Council. And it'd be a great honour if I was the town crier. I'd be the first town crier that Hilton has ever had.
Yeah, I can't tell you whether that's true or not.
Well, the first one is documented.
Yeah.
There wasn't one from the guild anyway.
Yeah.
They said that there's never been one. So, and it would be great. And my wife and I, we're not just passing through. I'm a contractor. I work here, and I'll work here until the contract's over, which is until war's over, which is probably not going to happen. So, not any particular war, just in general. And ideally, we would retire here is what our plan is. And in 9 years' time, I can get a permanent stay visa to stay here. And that'll be around my retirement time also. So it might work out.
My plan might dovetail into each other. Thank you, Joel. Okay, and we've got that coming up on the agenda as well. Sadly, we'll have to sit through a bit before we get to you. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll close the public section of the meeting and go back into the Parish Council part, and we will look at the next item on the agenda, which is to look at the Parish Council minutes held for the 6th of February.
So, do you want to do
No.
claims report?
Oh, you better have. As she sent you a report. Sorry,
Very
she hadn't
brief.
sent it to me, so I was off my
Okay.
radar.
It's very brief. Update from Huntingdonshire District Council is that the budget for 23-24 was agreed at the most recent full council meeting, and there's a news item on the HDC website for that. Also at that council meeting, the council agreed to adopt the climate strategy, and again there's news on the website for that. And following Joe Lancaster's retirement, the council has appointed a new interim manager, which is Mr. Oliver Morley. And again, information available on the website.
Right. Okay, now we'll go back to the Parish Council meeting. Sorry, I forgot about that. First thing is the Parish Council meeting held on Monday the 6th of February. You've had the minutes, everybody happy?
Yeah.
Then I propose that we adopt those minutes. Seconded, all those in favour? And also there was a planning committee meeting on Monday the 6th of February, which looked at, it was before the Parish Council meeting, and this looked at
Tree one.
tree pruning at number 16 Gibbons Close. Those people were here, John, Rob, Sarah and myself. Are you happy that those minutes reflect what we said we did? Yeah. Propose we adopt those. All in favour of that. Then there was a meeting on the 20th of February, which is one of these ones, which was another planning meeting. Here we go. And that was to look at a single-storey rear extension at 4 Mates Road. And are you happy that the minutes reflected that meeting? I propose we adopt those. All those in favour? Just Ed isn't here, but he was at that meeting. Thank you. Right, next on the agenda is Clerk's report. Clerk.
So, as has already been mentioned, the deposit from the dredging in the wilderness has been enclosed. A response was sent to both the bus strategy consultation and the National Planning Policy Framework consultation. The retaining wall around the maze has deteriorated due to the recent weather. I've contacted both English Heritage and Historic England to establish whether this would meet any of their current grant criteria. The wall was originally placed there with a grant from English Heritage, so fingers crossed. With regards to the health project, the signed agreement has been returned and the grant monies have been received. They came in on the 28th of last month. There is a study in St Ives for motorised user routes through the town. Unfortunately, Hilton is outside of the agreed scope for the study. The Community Garden Committee has advised that they've used their easement 4 times in the last 6 months. And the energy efficiency booklet received from Cambridgeshire County Council has been published on the Parish Council website.
Thank you. And then there were delegated decisions, of which there were two. One was placing the order for the leaflets regarding the request for information on 20 mile per hour, what villages views were on 20 mile an hour limit. And the other one was that when we were doing the fencing around the maze, and by the way, I would like to retort to the comments that are made about the toxicity, etc., that a number of people came up to me and said how much their dogs have enjoyed playing on it, and their children. So, you know, you can't please all the people all the time. There is a balanced view to have on these things. The padlock was broken, so a new padlock was purchased because it came within the amount that we could spend, I believe.
Delegated decision.
Yeah. Yes, a delegated decision. There we go. It's £88.69p. Right, next on the agenda,
Would you like to ratify those?
if you like. Sorry. I propose that those decisions are accepted, ratified. Everybody's in favour. Thank you. Right. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Green Open Spaces Committee. Don't know that they've done a report.
There's one note, I did get a message through from Ian, which I can do verbally.
Okay, and of course there was a tree. And I would just like, actually, that when the tree came down in Type Close, there was a magnificent community response from people who lived in Type Close and people who didn't live in Type Close, who came over and helped. Firstly, Duncan McMichael gets a big vote of thanks because he was out there with his chainsaw and he chopped it up. And then people like Alistair and Andy, who don't live, this is Andy in the new house across the way from there, he was out there. Alistair Stewart was out there. People from Type Close were out there. Graham Barradell was out there, all chopping it up and getting the road clear. So that was fantastic because it was a Sunday
It was.
and CCC didn't respond very quickly. And now the trunk's being removed
The trunk's been removed, Mike's been removed back for us.
and it's been used to block an entrance onto the wilderness, and the pile of debris is being reduced slowly as people's green bins are filled, because I don't suppose CCC, although I did see some hazard tape around it the other day. But it was lovely to see everybody out there doing something about it on a Sunday afternoon. And that was that bit, yeah? Yeah.
So the memorial tree that we discussed was planted last Sunday. The ivy cutting is hoped to be week ending 24th to 25th of March. And we'll use last year's system of asking for volunteers and allocating them a patch rather than having one big working party. So I'll be issuing an invite to the volunteers once Ian forwards it to me. And the intention is to have a bonfire probably towards the end of this month to tidy up a lot of the scrub that's been placed next to or within the dredging pile. Some of it's from the ditch work, some of it's from the Type Close tree.
Yeah, so that's good. Dublin. Good. Thank you. And then, so the one everybody's been waiting for, 246.2, to review the plan for spreading and disposing of the dredge material and decide upon actions, cost up to £3,500. So we've had, Nicola has contacted a local company who said that there would be a charge of £300 to have a look at the whether the stuff has any toxicity to it. And if it hasn't, it will cost £500 to remove it, and if it is, it will cost £3,000 to remove it. So that would be up to £3,300 spend. People were talking to us last month, telling us that we should contact the Environment Agency, who have been in contact with us, and have told us, yeah, that's fine what we've done. So that's good. And we have to decide if we have up to £3,300 to be able to spend on this. It's considerably less than we were originally advised, and it's obviously there's a considerably smaller amount of waste that's there. So you have seen of course it's not in the budget. So
But we were going to we were going to vote last time on spending £1,000 to spread it. if you test and it's not hazardous, that it costs less to remove it now.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be great, because I think that would please a lot of people, particularly people who are here now, who are very concerned about what's in it in terms of not necessarily the toxicity, but the debris in it. But also, I have to say as a conservationist, it's not just a field, as it says in here. It's a very sensitive meadow area, and one that's enjoyed by a lot of people, but also a wide variety of species make their home there. And if we've got a cheaper option to remove it, I would like to see that happen.
So, I was going to say that within our earmark reserves there is £2,000 for bridge replacement, and we have recently had work done on our bridges by Cambridge County Council. Again, not to everybody's satisfaction, but it is work that's been done for us, which means that we don't necessarily have to use that £2,000 for bridge replacement. So we could use that money towards removing this waste. If we were then also going to pay £1,000 to have it spread, then that's the money sorted, isn't it?
The
More or less.
other thing to note is there will be quite a large battery thing in the next financial year. Currently standing at just over £8,000 that will then be coming into the accounts next year.
So I'm just putting my tuppence out there. I think it would be money well spent.
I think so.
Yeah.
I just read carefully that although the Environment Agency did not criticise what we had done, they did advise that we check with them, and that's what we should have done.
Well, actually, they actually said that the dredging company should have checked with them.
Right. And the dredging company cited a very large sum of money to take away the spoils.
Yeah, appointed by
And
Cambridge County
circumstances
Council.
have proved that that was completely false, wasn't it?
Well, appointed by Cambridge County Council, so I'm not going to put them down.
Of course, it's not your, it's not getting at you.
I know. But I think there is a solution which will satisfy some people. It probably won't satisfy everybody because people have complained that vehicles are going on the wilderness removing it. But we will, of course, manage that and put in a route. We could perhaps use the tape, the fence that's up, to put a little pathway up and down to the pile to remove it. So,
Can we use our SIL money if it does require more?
I think there is enough in there. If we
We
use
sometimes struggle to spend the SIL.
Well, part of it was going to go, I think we said last time, towards pavilion as well, because we might have to have more than £7,500. But I think this we should spend, we should do. So the money will come out of the budget from somewhere.
I totally support removing the debris. Sooner the better.
Yeah.
And I actually personally removed a whole bottle of gloves.
Thank you, Claire.
Virtue signalling.
That's positive, that's positive, thank you. So, clearly we won't ask them to do it this week because I think the weather is not favourable. So, anybody else got anything to say? Because if not, I should propose that we proceed with a spend of up to £3,500 to get this stuff removed, depending on what the test shows. Everybody happy with that? Yeah.
Did you want to use the £2,000
Oh, yeah,
in
should we-
reserves, or are you going just out of budget?
I think we should use the earmark reserves of £2,000 to pop in, otherwise we're going to have a full hole,
That's
aren't
a
we?
separate.
Okay, I would propose that we use the £2,000 bridge replacement reserve for this purpose. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Right. So, there we are. Thank you very much. Next. Survey response on 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. So we put out a survey. We got 163 responses, which is very good. 78.5% of which, or 128, said yes. 32 responses, or 19.6% of people respondents said no. And three respondents had no opinion. So, there we are. It's quite an overwhelming majority, really. There are a number of comments from people who support and from a number of people who say no, and again, it's one of those things, it's not going to please everybody, but I think at 78.5% of respondents saying yes, that gives us a little path in which we should perhaps be looking to follow. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? And Ian, if you've got a question, answer it. I'll close the parish council meeting. Ian.
Okay, and thank you for the comment. My questions relate to, have you consulted the police on this proposal? It's the first part of the question. And then the second, you would be interested to hear their response. And the second part really is, if that goes ahead, will the police, the constabulary, enforce the 20-mile speed limit? Because that will be crucial if it is to go forward. And the next question is a bit simpler. In your proposals, you say, in one of them, reduce level of air pollution. Could you please provide the evidence that supports that statement?
Okay. Should we deal with the last one first, because these wordings came out from CCC?
No, Cambridge City Council.
Same.
Cambridge City Council.
Okay.
Plagiarised.
So, okay, it's a mistake. We don't know whether or not it's going to reduce pollution levels, I would say, because we're not experts in that field. What we're looking for is to try and improve a little bit of safety within the village by reducing the speed limit. Second question, the first question about policing it, I doubt they will. They don't police the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. I go through a village in which there is a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit put in, and it is noticeable that the majority of traffic reduce their speed to 20 miles per hour because of the signage and the roundings. It's not enforced, but if you've got a majority of people reducing their speed as they go through these things, then it can only be positive, I would have thought. And if we all switch to electric cars, then there would be a reduction of pollution on the roads. It'll be further up the chain.
Can you just answer the first question?
The first question?
The first question was, has the parish council consulted the constabulary
No.
on the introduction of a 20-mile speed limit? That is crucial.
No.
as
So
you
what
go
happens is that the county council have asked us, or have put out, that all parishes can make a separate LHI bid for a 20-mile-an-hour speed reduction, and that they, I assume they've gone with the constabulary on this.
I have no evidence either way.
And at the time when it,
Part of the informal consultation process.
and then if it gets to an approval stage by Cambridge County Council, they invite comment. We were aware that the constabulary were not necessarily supportive of a reduction in the speed limit from 40 to 30, but it's gone through. The constabulary will have the opportunity to say what they want to say at that point, as they have done as they have the opportunity of any LHI.
Yes. So the answer is the parish council has not consulted the constabulary as you go forward.
No, not on that.
No, I think you should.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Right, so, has that answered all your questions?
But partly, I think, because
Yes. Okay, so no, we haven't consulted the police. 2, I doubt they'll enforce it, but they might do sometimes. And 3, we don't know about reduced pollution, because I'm sorry to say we haven't got that information. We have 78.5% of respondents saying support it. I'll reopen the parish council meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, comments, observations?
If the county council, Cambridge City Council, wherever they are, have put out invitations to bid for this, is this likely to happen in more places than Hilton? And if it happens in more places than Hilton, are we not introducing it as a norm, and people will then expect to be driving more slowly in village centres? So we're not a one-off, we're not an isolated instance, that's all I'm saying.
This is a rolling programme. They're aiming to do about 8 schemes per year. There'll be £150,000 per year that's in the budget, and the aim is 8 schemes per year. And they do mention in the literature that the intention is for it to become the norm, because once there are many villages that are 20 mile an hour, there'll be greater compliance, because, as you said, it will become the norm.
I'd just like to make a comment to the driver of the BMW estate who was following me through the village the other day. If I'm here and he's here, trying to get past me all the way. Unbelievable. I was doing 20. But, though, just, and then he tried to overtake me. But I have an electric car, which accelerates very quickly. He didn't get past me. I may have upset your SID indicator at that point, but there was nobody else on the road. So, what would you like to do, ladies and gentlemen? Would you like to submit an LHI bid for a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit for Hilton? This is the way we consulted and discussed it last month, was that it would be 20 miles an hour across the village, so all your entrances are 20 miles an hour, saving the cost of a number of signposts at other roads. I think we could say that in the responses we had, there were a lot of people asking whether it's going to be policed, and who knows. Lots of people saying they prefer to see speed bumps, but we know that there are people in the village who don't want to see speed bumps, and we haven't got the money to put in speed bumps. Maybe habit makes people reduce their speed. Maybe it doesn't, but there's no harm in trying, I don't think.
I agree. I've read through both the comments for and against, and I don't consider the downsides of which there are potentially some, like the people using lower gears might cause more noise, but I think for what the potential offer and life-saving and safety, in my view, it's worth proceeding, especially with the support of 78% of the village.
No, 78% of respondents to the survey, but that response is high, 163. You don't really get that many respondents.
I would tend to echo what I've said. I think there were salient points made on both sides of the discussion, but I think that it's hard, bearing in mind our primary aim is to improve safety. I think it is very hard to argue with empirical data on the difference for killed, seriously injured casualties between 30 and 20. And so I think that, coupled with the majority of the respondents, quite a clear majority of the respondents are supported, I think there's, on that basis, there's a strong case to move forward with that application.
Anybody else?
I agree with what you've both said.
Yeah, I think it sums it up, doesn't it? Unfortunately, again, we won't please all the people. There are 32 people who said, well, 32 respondents who said no, but there are 163, I think it was, who said 128 who said yes. 78.5% seems better than 52%. So, if everybody's happy, I would propose that we submit an LHI application. This being a set.
And then that's it, because it's not an LHI.
Okay.
It's a separate scheme.
Separate scheme application for the 20 mile an hour. No guarantee we'll get it this time round, but there's a time scale which goes through to 2024. So I propose that we do that. Seconded by Rob. All those in favour? Thank you. Okay. Right. Okay, we have a vacancy on the parish council.
Peter,
Yes.
can I just ask what's the process then for actually submitting? Is that something that does, or does she want some help in?
The clerk will tend to run it. It has to be submitted by the 30th of April, I believe, at 5 o'clock. It's a Sunday, so I hope I'm not doing it on Sunday.
Oh, I'm not going to do it on Sunday.
Right, we have a vacancy on the parish council. Councillor Monk has resigned, and so we go through a process. Right? And I'll let. Do you want me to do the first bit of 248 or the second bit of 248? Because he's on a number of committees, and there will have to be people might have to replace him on a number of committees. But perhaps we're talking about,
You can always do that bit after co-option, it's just...
Yeah. if there's a new person comes on, they might want to go into the place. So, with regards to the notice of vacancy.
So that's been published, it's also been submitted to the district. There are 14 clear days where 10 electors of the parish can call for an election. At the expiry of that period, if 10 electors have not called for an election, then the council can proceed with co-option. So what would normally happen is I would issue a vacancy advert that will go out on the website, Facebook and notice boards with a closing date, and then you can co-opt at the following meeting. So the soonest timescale, the biggest timescale you can work to is if the closing date is the 27th of March, then you'll be able to co-opt to the April meeting, assuming you have an applicant.
Okay, thank you. Everybody clear on that? Have you got any questions?
Are any of the committees not a quorum as a result of the resignation?
No, I think I've always tried to make sure they're not equal on.
But they're now down from 5 to 4, and obviously we need 3 to
Yeah.
quorum.
It makes it a bit easier to keep managing the situation. Okay, thank you. And you've done that bit, so we'll just wait and see.
Are you happy with the return date? So that's resolved.
Yeah.
The clerk will issue.
Okay, so resolve that we, or propose that we have a return date of 27th of March. Seconded, all in favour? Thank you. Right, we've also had a resignation of the maintenance person. I did try and tell the maintenance person that their notice period was 3 years, but he didn't agree that. So, the end as well. Shall I? Councillors' items. Right, so we have a budget of 3 hours a week and SCP1, whatever that is.
It's the first point on the salary scale.
Thank you. Minimum wage, I guess.
No, it's slightly above.
Oh, even better.
But as I noted here, SCP1 will be deleted as part of the last salary award. The agreement was to delete SCP1, so we will need to appoint an SCP2, because that will be now the entry point on the...
And what's the differential?
Okay.
So we've got to bear that in mind. 3 hours a week, and what we're looking for is to put up a notice for anybody who'd like to take that on for 3 hours a week.
Are we going to advertise it at SCP2 then? Because by the time they're appointed, there won't be SCP1.
Nonpence an hour difference between SCP1 and
Everybody
SCP2.
counts.
So yes, I guess we would need to advertise at SCP2 because April 23 is round the corner, isn't it? So, yes, that take something to it.
I don't know enough about this, but is the living wage SCP2?
No, it's below.
The living wage is below that?
Yeah, SCP2 is above the living wage. SCP1 is also above. That's being removed.
So there's a nice little job description, and they report to the clerk, I believe.
Yes.
So the resolution is to approve the advert at SCP2. Seconded, all those in favour? Thank you. Right. Next one is internal auditor. So previously a parishioner undertook our internal audit, but he stopped last year. And we used the POWT internal audit service, and the proposal was that at their cost of £69.90 last year, we used their services again.
Very thorough audit.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So that's the proposal, that we use the POWT internal audit service again as that internal auditor. There is also the external auditor who you agree we would use people here. At the last meeting or the meeting before? Very recent. So I
You
suppose.
have to reappoint them every year.
Yes, the council must appoint the internal auditor.
So I would propose we use the POWT internal audit service. Seconded, all those in favour? Thank you. Decide upon the May meeting date, as the current one falls on a bank holiday. That's a bit chaos, wasn't it?
I don't think it was known at the time.
Okay. That's interesting. Because coronation of King Charles II is on the 8th, Monday the 8th.
Yes, which is when you agreed to,
I think it's on the 6th, isn't it?
that's the bank holiday, just to,
Just saying it's come up on the calendar. Right, so Monday the 8th we can't do, obviously, and Monday the 1st we can't do because it is a bank holiday anyway. And then, so that leaves us to Monday the 15th. And then there is also, the next meeting would be Monday the 5th of June, I think. And then we'd have no meeting in July, correct?
yeah, 1st July.
Or August, sorry, no meeting in August.
No meeting in August.
The next meeting would be
confused.
1st July. So we would be looking at going from April the 3rd, because that isn't affected by bank holiday, through to May the 15th, and then we'd go from May the 15th to June the 5th. Short period of time, but I guess working on what's available in terms of hire and other commitments. Monday, May 15th is the date. Happy with that?
Yeah.
So now we have to propose and resolve that the parish council meeting for May is moved from the 8th to the 15th. Thank you, that's everybody. And then we have the annual parish meeting, which is not a parish council meeting, but it is a parish meeting. Can I just ask, sorry, I'm going to go back on, the May meeting is the annual parish council meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you
Yes,
can...
which is why you are required to have one in May.
Right, yeah. And then we also are required to have an annual parish meeting, and that we are proposing we do on Monday the 17th of April. And that gives, we invite groups from around the village to come along and talk to us and tell us what sort of year they've had. And it's a very nice meeting. Very nice meeting. So, I propose that meeting is held on Monday the 17th of April. Seconded, all those in favour? Sorry, I didn't ask if you had any comments about it. Right, next on the agenda is to receive the data from the recent RSPB survey, bird survey. You've got the information, which was good. Now,
What sort of length of time they did the survey over from when they did it?
no idea.
I don't know off the top of my head.
No idea. And unfortunately, I don't know whether one was done in the previous year. And for any
Yes.
comparatives,
Yes, I think it was done in the previous year, which we could have done parish council.
was it? Oh, but we haven't got the comparative information.
No, I'd just be interested to know because there are quite a number of species that are not on that survey. I wondered about the time period and also the time of year. That was all.
Yeah, no, sorry, can't help you with that, Nina.
No.
But we'll put this information on the website, on the Facebook page, for people to have a look. 18 different birds on your farm.
It's considerably more than that, I would suggest. That's partly why I want to know when they did it and how long for, because actually it doesn't mean anything much to them, right?
And whatever that means. Anyway, 16 insects seen as well. So this was done during the spring and summer of 2022. But again, I don't know how long for. And as was the bird bit. So there we go.
And was it on the wilderness of the green?
I believe it was on a farm,
Yes.
because it says birds on your farm.
Yeah, so I think it's a farm wildlife
think it's
project, but he gets them to do the green as well as the farm.
It's just wording that says the farm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
what
just
I'm
the standard
confused
wording.
The farm.
But yeah, when they come to do the farm, he gets them to do the green as well.
When you say the green, does that include the wilderness then?
I believe so, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
Right.
Would you like to resolve that this information is published on the website and Facebook page?
Yes, I think we might need to resolve that. I propose that we publish it to the commission, and it's all seconded and
Anything?
good. Right, the next request is, so Heather, you put it in, you tell us about it.
I did.
Yeah.
So, essentially, Easter Cross goes up every year. Celebrate Easter goes up just before Good Friday, on Thursday, obviously, stays in place till Tuesday. Every year, a member of the churches in Hilton writes the parish council to ask permission for it to be put up, and every year we say yes. So I was just thinking, right, let's do it for 10 years, and then we can review in 10 years' time.
Same place, same cross.
Same place, same
Effectively.
rules.
Yep, makes sense to me.
Any comments?
Seems to be totally sensible.
It's sensible, but I'd just like to just say, as long as it's a temporary cross, and it's going up and it's coming down again.
Monday, Thursday,
Then it
Tuesday.
doesn't go up, it's come down in 10 years' time.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see one there all the time, but I'm very happy for it to be up for the Easter period, because I think that's quite a nice thing.
So the proposal is that it goes up from Maundy Thursday to Easter Tuesday each year, obviously a variable date. And that we agree that that would be allowed for 10 years.
Good.
That's sensible.
Do you want to propose?
I can propose it.
Heather's proposed it? All second, all in favour? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Right, next, Joel, this is it. Now sorry. Couldn't resist. Right, as we've heard Joel, very nicely talk, and we also had Heather, this is from you as well. Why don't you talk to us about this as well?
So, for the Platinum Jubilee, when we're doing all sorts of celebrations, we asked around the village, through Facebook and other forms, notices on those boards, who would like to be a town crier. And we got one volunteer, and that volunteer was Joel. And he did a fantastic job for us, ringing his bell, saying oh yay, everything else, proclaiming the platinum, whatever you did. It was great. And we then discovered it had been a lifelong ambition for Joel to be a town crier.
Yeah.
And he would be very happy to represent Hilton. Is that correct?
That's right.
And so I am suggesting that we appoint Joel as the first town crier so that he can become a member of the...
Ancient and Honourable Guild of Town Criers.
It will be no cost to the parish council, but we will be able to invite Joel to proclaim things should the need arise in the future.
Sorry.
I
We walked
think it's
500 miles.
absolutely fantastic that we are honoured to have somebody that's prepared to do that for us and offer such a service. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Appointed in timely fashion for the big event that's about to take
Yes,
place.
definitely.
What's that?
And if I am appointed, I'd get a different attire. I'd have to buy the things for the guild would show me where to get bells and where to get a proper town crier outfit. And actually, I was wondering, this is probably the group to ask. It could be red, it could be blue, or it could be green. Red's okay. I like red. However, green, we do have the turf here, the turf mace. That's what Hilton's known for.
Okay.
So if it was green, that would kind of...
Yeah, there's a picture of the green man
So,
in here.
but it'd be up to whatever the council would want. Actually, I'm fine with any of those colors.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first resolution is, would you like to, the proposal is to appoint Joel as the first town crier in Hilton. Seconded, and that's approved, thank you. And now, thank you, Joel. And then the other question is, it's hard for me to answer because it's your money.
Leave it to his discretion.
Well, that's what I was going to say, it's
Yeah,
your money.
I think if we appointed him, I think that could be his first job.
You look better in green or
Yeah.
blue?
I just thought green because of the turf, even though I was going to do red, the traditional red.
You do stand out in red.
Stand out.
Yeah,
That's
everybody
the
can
thing.
spot you at
Ah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true, actually.
But I think,
You have autonomy.
yes, I think that should be your first job.
Actually, I could have either.
So the decision of the council is that we would leave Joel to decide what colour attire. Outfit. It's not uniform, is it?
They call
Regalia.
it, they call it attire or garb.
Yeah.
Garb.
No, it's
That's it.
regalia.
And
Regalia.
that's the proposal. All those in favour? Thank you. Good. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
You'll hear
Great.
from me later.
I saw what you did there. Very good.
The next item is also Heather. Come on.
Oh gosh, croquet, yes. So last year, on Fridays, there's a growing group of villagers who participate in games on the green, and whether it's croquet, pool, fish skittles, soon to be table tennis, whatever else, is getting a lot of people. And I think towards the end of last summer we got over 30 people coming down to play games and to drink wine between 6 and 8 p.m. We got so many that although we'd asked permission to use the cricket square for our croquet pitch, green, lawn, thank you, croquet lawn. I wrote down lawn, croquet lawn. We often needed 2 lawns to accommodate all the people who came down. And so we can fit 1.5 croquet lawns on the current cricket square. It is, particularly if you are the second group.
Yeah,
You're not
get half
there
the
once.
I'm not being picky, but when you say cricket square, do you mean the whole cricket pitch area?
No, we mean the wickets area.
Okay.
So the way it's, which I think is a standard size for, or length, I think it's 20 metres long for a wicket between the 2 wickets.
Something
Maybe
like
it's 22 yards, yeah. 20
A
metres.
chain.
But you can have just one which is only 3 metres wide. I think we have about 12 metres wide. And what we're finding is it's the perfect length for us, and we can get 1.5 courts on that piece, so we'd like it widened. So if you stand at a wicket, looking at the other wicket, we'd like to take it out another few metres.
So it would be more closely known than
Yes.
the outfield.
Yeah, so it's just short.
And is it
Because you
still
need it for
more
the-
closely known?
Exactly.
The actual
Otherwise,
wicket.
avoid them.
The actual wicket was certainly closely mown last summer.
by a parishioner?
No.
Mr. What's his name?
Yeah.
Mr. Springhouse?
Yeah.
That's him. He goes out with his roller and his own mower and closely mows
cuts
those
that
bits.
area, the actual wicket.
So I did ask his permission to use
Yeah,
the cricket
good.
area.
Good.
For
Yeah,
croquet,
horse
he was
riders
very
too.
happy. He was very happy for croquet to be there.
So at the minute, because, sorry,
I'm just going to ask, if a cricket team did want to resume and use that area, would this be difficult for them?
I don't know, would it be a conflict of interest?
Well, only if they wanted to play on Friday nights, but
I think that having a wider area wouldn't be, because often you have wickets that are in one place, then move along, don't
They do, having the right. If you look at Lords,
I know
there's about
nothing
10
about
strips of
cricket.
it.
Yeah.
Go.
So the length is the key thing.
Excellent.
I'm just not quite sure about who does know it at the moment.
So the gentleman who Nina referred to cuts that specific part.
The rest of it is mown as part of the maintenance thing, isn't it? But that bit, he mows much more frequently to keep it at that nice short length, which is of course ideal for what you want.
And he did it because he
So
used
we
to
have
run
to ask
cricket
him
club.
to know a wider area, or we would have to get the maintenance person, I guess, or whoever it does the other mowing, to mow it more closely in the bit he's not doing.
The other is, as it's a lake level cricket, and it's just big, 2 wickets wide as such, and that comes
Yeah.
that's a problem in terms of the overall environmental impact on the green, as we keep at the top of the environmental impact on the green.
Council does have a duty to have regard to biodiversity in all its decisions.
And
That's human as well.
but I think what we need to do is just a little bit more of an inquiry, because my immediate thought when I read this was, how much is it going to cost to do it? But of course, because I thought that was increasing the area of the circle, if you like. So I think what we need to do is talk to that parishioner to ask whether he would be prepared to perhaps do 2 widths, or if one of your group would like to come down and cut it as well. If that parishioner, so first of all, respected the parishioner to ask him whether he's was still be prepared, if he's prepared to still cut it, because I haven't seen that parishioner before. But we should talk to him first of all, see if he wants to still do it, and if he would be prepared to widen his cut, and if not, then would one of your sports group be prepared to come and, because there is a mower in the pavilion, or is it his? But so we've got a little bit of inquiry to do. So from the parish council point of view, the proposals, are you happy as parish council to allow the 2 strips, if you like, 2 wickets to be cut in within the square on the green? Claire's proposing. Are you happy? I propose that we do that. Secondly, all those in favour? Thank you. And we'll just have a little more discussion about how it actually transpires. If that's okay. Good, right. Next one. 2, 3. Okay. Item 257, to decide on the proposal to amend Standing Order 3S to ensure that the vote is always recorded when not unanimous. Rob?
Yes, I have 3 motions, the first of which is all are related to, in my view, just improving transparency of what we do as elected servants, is it what? Representatives. And this stems from both my now experience of having sat on the council for a year, but also relates to the period when I used to sit in the audience prior to this and be a bit unclear as to certain motions relating to the papers that the councillors had access to that I didn't have any visibility over, such as when we were discussing maps and where the signs are located, that kind of thing. So, starting with recording votes. The standing order already allows for the recording of votes, and as you will have seen over the last few meetings, whenever there has not been a unanimous vote, I have called for it to be recorded. The reason I do that, I believe, is that I think the parishioners have a right to see how we vote as councillors, because we are elected by the parishioners, in the same way that I can find out how my MP voted on any vote in Parliament. I think the same should apply to us. I don't think, for transparency, I think it's fair to know that if I'm voting for councillors to sit on the council, I like to understand what their views are and how they're voting on my behalf on matters we discuss and vote on here. So, whilst I have a route to achieve this, as we've seen, it just relies on me every time asking for it to be recorded. So I would just go building into the standing orders that we do this by default, rather than me having to ask for it every time we don't have a unanimous vote.
Okay. So we'll look at this one first of all, yeah?
What happens with other councils and other villages around here? What do they do?
This particular standing order is taken directly from legislation, so the standing orders that you have are the same standing orders that every parish council works to, because they're the NAUC standard. When you look at them, there are certain things you can change and certain things you can't. Anything that's in bold cannot be changed because it's taken directly from legislation.
And this actual one says, as in your supporting documents, on the requisition of any member of the council, the voting on any question should be recorded so as to show whether each member present and voting gave his vote for or against. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a quote from the legislation, which is then mirrored into the standing orders.
So, I think my point is more about support for the Nolan principles and transparency. So I think my point is not how we achieve that within the standing orders. That is just my proposal to amend that. If we're not allowed to amend it, then there are other ways. I don't believe that the purpose of Nolan's principles and the standard documentation that's laid out for councils is to prevent transparency. So there must be a way to achieve it, whether we just add to the bold.
So the first question we should ask is, do you want to change it as a parish council? Or are you happy with the way the standing orders are at the present time, and at which point, if you wanted to see a vote recorded, as Rob has asked on at meetings recently, then the councillor who wishes to see it recorded that way asks for it to be done. Okay? So that is because at the minute, according to the model standing orders, the emboldened standing order says that if you want to have it recorded, you ask for it to be recorded. Yeah? So, first question is, do you want to see it changed?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Because I think the...
So let's have a vote on that.
Could we just discuss it briefly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
have a
one of the
discussion.
things that you might consider is protecting people from being harassed or attacked for their vote. In a small community where you're very accessible to people, I heard of somebody going around in the post office in some village on some matter to with the parish council. So I can see that this custom has arisen in to create some anonymity as a guard for people who may have voted quite rightly according to their own views, and it's protected them from anybody who doesn't agree with them.
We don't have
So,
any
to be
anonymity here because we're being filmed. I think
Yeah.
that's...
And I think that that same risk would remain should it be someone who attends to watch the meeting and then put it on Facebook. This councillor voted for or against. And so I don't think that answers that particular point. And I think actually being approached by someone, a parishioner, is quite a positive thing, subject to the appropriateness of their manner. Of course. But I mean, I think that's great. That shows engagement. And actually, that's what surveys are for, and getting a turnout.
When people come out and say, I'm so glad you do the survey, on the 20 mile an hour limit, and I really support it, one is naturally very pleased.
Yes.
Which I was twice. But I just wondered whether there were any sensitive issues where people might want.
But the confidentiality, there is no confidentiality of the vote.
By the same token, what we're voting on is generally not a matter of life and death.
I think the other thing to say is
And I think that's an important consideration as well.
we have a closed section at the end of the meeting to which the public are excluded, and we're not talking about those discussions being made open anymore. It's what is currently available to the public.
No, I think it's quite right that we should be discussing it before we vote on it.
I don't think there should be a change to our existing arrangements.
When we discussed it, it came up, I think, maybe it was just when we were discussing where we're at the minute, what we've agreed that we could choose, it could be requested that we recorded the votes. And it was discussed at the policy working group.
Yeah, I did apply for this point to the policy working group.
And we discussed it there, and my views haven't changed on that. And it is. I see where everyone's coming from, that we've been recorded. So if anybody wants to find out who voted in what way, then they could if they wanted, so wished. But I think for me, it's just having that little bit of anonymity, like you were saying, Claire, being that it just gives you a little bit of a
Distance.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't know how they're voting. They can look at recording. I don't feel that it should be changed from where we're at the moment. We have changed it. so that it can be, anyone can ask for a vote to be recorded.
We haven't changed it, that's
And
how the
It's
standing
in the
order is.
legislation, that section.
Okay, so we,
The
but we've
provision
been
is
made
there.
more aware
Yeah, the
of doing
provision
it,
is
and
there.
people
Yeah.
are doing it.
Yes.
So I feel that's fine. It doesn't need to be changed anymore. It doesn't need to be done every time.
I think the problem at the moment, though, is that if a member here wants the vote to be recorded, we vote, then somebody says, I want to record the vote, so then you have to vote again. And so you probably, if you felt uncomfortable in the way you're suggesting, you may want to change your vote once you know it's been recorded, which you can't do. So
I
to
think
have
that,
it transferred place.
I can understand that being an issue, but I think that's probably just a protocol issue for the way we conduct the meeting, in so much as we make sure that the hands remain until the clerk has recorded on the initial vote, and then there is no need for repetition. So it would be a case of if the process is being done too quickly, then we need to respect the clerk's need to record accurately and then prevent that happening. I think that's the solution to that one. And I would say if the legislature hasn't seen fit to revisit the 72 Act to amend this, I concur that I personally don't think that Hilton Parish Council needs to seek to change that which is still the standing legal advice on the subject, which clearly says any member can ask for the recording to be recorded, the voting to be recorded specifically. So.
When was it brought in that we could have the meetings recorded? It must have been after 72. 2014. So this is legislation going back to 72 and didn't take into account the fact that meetings are recorded in 2014.
It wasn't changed in that legislation about the recording of votes.
I mean, it's in the public domain already, so...
So, I think that what's it proposing? The proposal is, do you want to change the standing order 3S? Would be the right, do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's what
So the vote is, and you're seconding it. Sorry,
Who was,
John?
I just want to clarify who was seconding, who is proposing and who is seconding.
I'll propose it.
You proposed
Right,
it,
Rob.
Rob's proposed it. Heather's seconded it. All those in favour? 2.
If you
Those
call the
against?
Vote, please. Nicola.
Those against? 3?
I'm abstaining, I'd like to think
Yeah,
about it.
I'll come to abstain in a minute.
Okay.
So against is 3.
So we're going to need to go through it again. But you carry on with the vote.
Peter, John and Sarah. But obviously surnames, as we discussed last time.
Yeah, I've created a table ready.
Rob and Heather 4, and abstaining, Nina and Claire.
I'm probably undecided on this one. I'd
Okay,
like
so
some time to think about it. I haven't been on the parish council long enough to really quite know the niceties of this project.
but the motion has been declined, or the proposal. Right. Next item is to decide upon the proposal to. Rob, go on. It's you again. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just checking which one's next.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, 3T, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3T8. Yeah.
Yes, this relates, I think we had a recent good example of this. This is where, given Standing Order 3T, describes exactly what should be recorded in the minutes of the meeting, of which various things. Primarily, it's like the resolution that's made. What we've had, in my view, I've had experience on a number of occasions where, as part of the discussion possibly, or facts that are provided in making that decision, that is not recorded in the minutes. So the fact on which we voted positively for a resolution, sometimes the key fact that describes or explains why we voted that way, it is not recorded in the minutes. We saw a recent example where a councillor had been asked by a number of members of the parish to raise a matter at a council meeting, which that councillor did, but the fact they raised it was not recorded. and so they were left a little bit exposed. And we actually, last meeting, voted to make an exception and record a statement in the minutes as a result of that. So I would like to give councillors the opportunity to request the recording of a particular fact or statement, or potentially answer to a point raised in the public section that may be useful to include in the documentation. Once again, as we're a public meeting and it's videoed, and people can view. I'm not asking to record anything confidential, just stuff in the open meeting that helps to explain why we made a resolution, or is a statement of fact. So, for example, I once stated that the community garden group would be happy to plant the daffodil bulbs should we decide to plant those, but that was not recorded. But I wanted it recorded so that it was clear that for future meetings and for the Green Spaces group that we were prepared to do that. I don't think, in my year's experience now, I think there are 3 occasions where I've been aware, 2 of them my own and 1 of another councillor. So I'm suggesting that the workload involved is not going to be astronomical, and if it is, we could vote to change back and not do that. So my proposal would be to allow recording of facts or statements made in a meeting by councillors at the request of a councillor.
So, can I just clarify, that would then put the onus on the councillor who's raising the relevant points to seek that emphasis, they make the request in the meeting.
Yes.
So basically highlighting
Now,
them as the...
I mean, it's a debate whether that should have to be done as per the previous one, if you want to record the minutes as part of the motion, or whether as when we're processing the minutes and discussing the draft minutes, whether they could ask for it to be included at that point.
So is it going to be the case that the individual councillor can ask for something to be limited and that is carried without any discussion or any intervention from the chair?
So that's part of the question. So if this proposal went through, would it have to be that the rest of the council support that councillor's request to have that statement included? I defer to the clerk, who is obviously the legal expert on the ins and outs of minute taking. I know that the minutes are not supposed to be verbatim, they're supposed to be just telling the resolution. And the comment I made last month, which was that the minutes are about the corporate body, not the individual.
So I've put it in your supporting documents as well, but the minutes are supposed to be the voice of the corporate body and not a record of statements made by members. So I've given you a quote here from Charles Arnold Baker, which is the Yellow Clerk's Bible, to say that minutes are intended to be formal records of official acts and decisions, not reports, still less verbatim reports of the speeches made by councillors. So the minutes should be as short as is consistent with clarity and accuracy, and the arguments used in the discussion need to be recorded only if the decision cannot clearly be expressed in any other way.
But I think the key word there is clarity, and that's what I'm asking for.
It specifically says, you mentioned about arguments used. Charles Arnold Baker states the arguments used in the discussion need to be recorded only if the decision cannot clearly be clearly expressed in any other way.
Is that a legal document? Do we have to adhere to what he's saying?
You don't have to adhere. He is the industry expert on this matter. His book is now in its 14th edition, and as I say, this book is referred to as the Clerk's Bible because it is the book that becomes the backbone of. But it's not a law of
legally binding. So
no,
we
it's
could.
Best practice.
We could.
And specifically, what it's trying to stop is an endless record of what individuals have contributed to a discussion. I understand that thinking that's not what is being asked here.
No. Well, this is the issue, is what happens when every councillor wants their comments recorded.
I don't think that's
you've got a mechanism. The mechanism.
It's not what's being asked.
The mechanism was clearly demonstrated in the last meeting where an argument was added to the minutes at the request of the council. So, as the minutes are the voice of the corporate body, can a councillor be the voice of the corporate body? The answer legally is no. So, if you want to have these added, it would definitely need to be by resolution of the
Proper
council.
council, can't have the tail wagging the dog. I've got to have everybody do
You know, the minutes are the voice of the corporate body.
That's perfectly sensible though, isn't it? That we can resolve that one by a request of an individual councillor being put to the rest of the company and decision being made as to whether that would be
in the last
clear. Yeah.
But it was quite uncomfortable in the last meeting, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
For
Because,
me,
Complete waste of
particularly.
time,
yeah, because we were going.
So what about if we do it for a trial period, to see
Good idea.
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
happens?
yeah.
Yeah, because you're talking, Rob, about
Yes.
if everybody
Yeah,
suddenly
I
said, oh, I want my statement,
I
in,
don't think-
like I want my statement in.
I don't
now.
I
think
really
so.
don't think we will
Just the
So,
odd.
is that then by resolution of the council
So,
or by
the
request of
proposed-
the individual?
changing Rob's words for him is that the proposal would be that for a trial period of 3-6 months,
Or your
6 months.
Yeah, your resolutions for 6 months without a special resolution.
that should a councillor want their statement to be included in the minutes, they will ask, and the council will resolve as a body whether they want to see that done.
I think it has to be that solution. I don't think it's right for an individual councillor to insist on something that projects their point of view as opposed to anybody else's.
I am also hesitant about the term statement, because if someone sits and gives a 15-minute demo, then that could be,
Point.
so I would say salient points or pertinent, whatever,
On the whole,
specifics.
we are reliable,
Because-
sensible people, and we're generally going to
The three described.
solution. So I think we've probably discussed it.
Yeah, I think maybe
Helpfully.
as well, we could, rather than having a separate resolution and motion every time it happens, we could just do it as part of where we accept the draft minutes. We could just run through any requests at that point.
I would suggest it should be minuted in the meeting.
So if you felt, if
I don't have the
wanted
time to be reviewing the video every time to be able to then
No,
verify
sorry, I
accuracy.
obviously said something I didn't intend to say. All I meant was, at the start of the meeting, when we accept the draft minutes and make them official, in the very start of the meeting, we run through the planning committee and at that point, I'm just saying, if there had been any additions, they could be listed there and we could just say yes or no as a group to those as part of that.
That wouldn't be
Adopting the
minuted in
minutes.
the meeting though.
Yeah,
You'll do the subsequent.
you're saying that
But
if the
the actual
comments,
comment would be recorded after the meeting rather than during.
no, within the meeting, I think,
my
your
understanding was it was during the meeting.
Yes,
is your timeline that the draft minutes are circulated? Are you suggesting that comments are made prior to that to be then revisited in the meeting, or that simply
Yeah, I think
the clarifying points are raised in the meeting when the minutes are discussed for approval or reviewed?
Yeah, it was just
Or both.
prior to adoption, it could be either. Yeah, I mean,
Because
I think you
sometimes-
would have to do it after you've had a chance to read what is in them.
yes, you don't know what's
Because you
Well,
wouldn't know what's in them.
I'm only recording the decisions of the council.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you then come back to me and say, actually, I want to include something I discussed 2 weeks ago, so am I then just including that
No, that would
councillor's
need to be
words?
voted on the next meeting.
Yeah,
But if during the meeting
how do I
tonight,
get those words correct?
The councillor
The councillor.
asking for it proposes what the words are, because assuming that they've made the statement, and then at the point we're agreeing whether to adopt the minutes, we go through, changed by Councillor Dulstone, requested that we add the sentence X, and we say yea or no at that point, as we're adopting the minutes.
The wording of the minutes is accurate because I'm typing them as you say them. So how,
yes, but
How
Yeah,
do you
you're not
verify
typing
it?
everything, obviously, so that's the point. So
they are, the wording of the minutes is accurate in terms of the T that says it needs to be. You're not going to know if I said, okay, town crier, we want to give you, I'm not going to know that you didn't put that in until the minutes come out.
Is it better to ask for things in the meeting then, like we do ask for the vote to be recorded?
We can, yeah, I mean, that can do it.
Then
It's going to be open-ended, it's going to be
Yeah.
the potential of both, isn't it? Because at the meeting I could say, oh, by the way, I'd like you to record my statement on the 20-mile-an-hour thingies that there was some comments that I didn't agree with. Or I could say, like happened at the last meeting, in fact I was asked to say that there were some comments and I did say it, but it wasn't recorded in the minutes. It's, well, it's suck and see, I think.
Yeah, can we do that trial, please, what I propose, and
Yep.
we'll figure it out
Yeah.
as to whether it's...
Okay, so there's a proposal in there somewhere, which is that for a trial period,
Of 6
6
months.
months.
The councillor may request for the resolution of the council to include the salient points which may be added during or after the meeting but prior to the minutes being approved.
by resolution of the council, by agreement of the council.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so there's a proposal. Anybody want to second it? People second it? All those in favour? Abstaining? Against?
Can you record that, please?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Sorry. Just pause for a moment.
Yeah. That's all in favour.
Yeah. Who proposed?
I propose you tonight. Yeah.
Who seconded?
Heather. From, I saw from out this corner. I didn't see them.
Was Heather.
Yes. Right, the next item is from Rob as well. Rob, you can lead
Yeah,
this one
I'll
today.
try and keep this on super brief. It was just looking at our websites when looking at the history of information as a councillor, but also anyone a member of the parish. We don't publish all the supporting materials that us councillors get to see, and we're looking at right now. I just felt it would be transparent for us to give that information. The stuff I think is primarily missing is when we're discussing like maps or diagrams or whatever. Nobody's got a clue what we're talking about now. I'm aware that with smaller councils with income of up to 25,000, it's written into their procedures what has to be published, and it does include all supporting documents. What I'm not asking for is to mirror that, because I am aware that they have to be published 3 days prior to the meeting, which is probably the time that the clerk is at very busy with all the organising stuff of the meeting.
In the main, your supporting documents are ready 3 days prior to the meeting as well.
Okay. Well, I'd be delighted if they could be published in advance of the meeting, but my point was really just that we had a clear record and transparency on the website after the meeting. But if we can improve it to actually do it before the meeting,
So,
even better.
are you proposing that you adhere to the transparency code or just that section?
For me, it's just the publication of the supporting documents. That I
What's the
think is
difference
missing.
to you?
You're also required under the transparency code to publish all items of expenditure over £100, and a list of councillor or member responsibilities, which is pretty much already on the website, and the asset register would need to be published. Everything else you already do, your governance statement, your interview accounts, and internal audit report are already published as part of your requirements under council audit. So it's really just the asset register, the items of expenditure over £100, and the meeting papers that you don't currently do.
I think
Okay, so
quite
we
often.
do the items of expenditure because they're on the agenda.
They are on the agenda, but it has to be a separate document.
Okay. Okay, right. Any other inputs or comments?
How much extra work would this proposal entail for the department?
Not a huge amount, to be honest. The majority of your supporting documents could go on as is. I currently produce redacted quotes because of your previous resolution. So redacting quotes is a really time-consuming process, but I already do that for you because of the 2019 resolution. Oh, 2020, I beg your pardon. So yeah, in terms of your supporting documents, I tend to omit parishioner names anyway, so that would obviously need to be tighter for GDPR because we shouldn't be mentioning names. Other than that, relatively simple. You currently have some supporting documents on the website. Obviously they would only be available on the website unless a parishioner requested, and then there would be a Hilton charge should they request hard copies.
Yeah, I was just looking to see what was on the website. We have our financial accounts, Berwick County Parliamentary report and the notice of vacancy of the parish council, but not obviously the vacancy handbag, for instance.
I think quite often when we get members of the public addressing the meeting in that 10 minutes space at the start of our meeting, a lot of their questions could be answered if they had access to the supporting documents. And their engagement might be better then as a result of that. So I think it would be a good thing to improve engagement in the village.
So when it was considered before, it was resolved that financial information, including redacted quotes, draft policies and linked policy public documents, the items on the agenda will be written in a more self-explanatory way. This should increase transparency without increasing cost and time to the clerk. There's little risk of inadvertently releasing inappropriate information rather than publishing all supporting documents verbatim. So that's what the parish council proposed and agreed on the last time this item came up.
February 2020, and it went to the policy group before that.
Right.
One that was discussed for several months.
It was, yes, I can remember, because one of the things that we didn't want to do was overburden the clerk at the time, and it has generally, that we've always tried to ensure that, for instance, when we were discussing the agenda and we talked about the spreading and disposing of the dredging materials, we made sure that the amount was on there so that people could see what we were looking at as a possible spend. I think it's unnecessary. I think what we publish sorts out what we've got at the minute, but that's just my view.
I think I agree with Heather when it comes to things like maps and plans. When you're discussing something, I think people actually need to see those if you're talking about an area affected, because you know they don't necessarily know where you're talking about. They can't, you know, and then you can get people really riled about something which if they saw the map they might not be, or vice versa. There might be a lot more opinion about some things if people knew more clearly what we were talking about or discussing.
A few months ago when we were talking about the LHI and the signage that was going to go on near the Shilton roundabout, we had access to what those pictures were going to look like.
Yeah.
And members of the public didn't.
No.
So it's that sort of thing that would be really helpful.
So I'm not saying everything, but I just think that's a really good point.
Let's try it
If you're not
6 months
saying
again.
everything, then I need definitely,
Well,
previously where there was a definition as to what went on and what didn't. So it's either got to be everything or there's got to be quite strict
I'm going
guidance.
to propose to the motion as stated in our supporting documents that we agree to publish the full set of supporting documents excluding confidential information.
Can I just ask a question of the clerk? Looking at the website, at the December meeting, in supporting documents, there's the Hilton 7.5-ton sign. Was that available at the time? Was that added afterwards?
If it's in the supporting documents on the website, it was published 3 clear days before.
Sorry, Heather, it was there and it was
I
available.
thought there was some issue about the signage though, that the signage hadn't been agreed.
If it's in that support, I only put things in there when they're added to supporting documents, so it would have been there 3 clear days
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's fine, it was there, I just
Okay.
want to make a point. That the supporting documents, as suggested at the moment, included that document,
Okay.
it was there. So, Rob's making a proposal.
So yes, to agree to publish the full set of supporting documents excluding confidential information. I'm not proposing a timescale for that, but if Nicola was able to do that in advance of the meeting, all the better, but I wouldn't like to impose that on you.
But sorry, just to clarify, that is the current practice.
It goes up with the agenda.
So you're proposing
No, the
something
full
that...
set isn't.
Oh,
the
yeah.
supporting
So all
documents.
this,
So
this is the minute.
the difference between the full set and what is currently put is what we are, which document?
Where the main PowerPoint,
Yeah.
and if you look at your current supporting documents, so things like the parishioners' comment about the 20 proposal response, the comments from the survey, the councillor vacancy adverts, the notice of vacancy was put on there because that's already published.
Yeah.
The maintenance person's job description wasn't on there. The town crier paper that Heather wrote isn't on there, and the consultations, don't think they're on there either because they're not public documents.
And sorry, bear with me, the reason that they didn't appear,
Because they're not on the previous resolution. So the previous resolution was for
I see.
financials, draft policies and any public documents.
From 2020, February 2020.
Yeah.
So in effect, it's a case of attaching those documents
Uploading them to the website.
with the others,
Yeah.
having already been produced,
Yeah.
typically in your efficiency with 3 clear days.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, everything that's in Dropbox, unless it's part of the confidential
Yeah.
minutes,
Thank you.
confidential items at the end.
Okay.
I wouldn't put the monthly authorised payments of accounts, I wouldn't put that on there because obviously that's financial information. It's available under freedom of information, but
It's on the agenda anyway.
it's on the agenda. It's just the copy of invoices
And it goes in the
would
minutes.
normally be published.
Oh, yeah, you don't-
That one. So yeah, you've got the list of payments, you've got the payees, but the actual copy of invoices, PowerPoint.
That's fine.
Yeah, so, there's Rob's proposal. Seconded by Heather, those in favour? Those against?
For the vote.
I'm against. Everybody else is in favour. Because I think you should have a time limit on it, or a trial period on it, to make sure the clerk isn't overwhelmed. But the clerk can always come back and tell us.
Yeah. So
That's
sorry,
fine.
Here's my questions.
Rob, you proposed, who seconded?
I did.
Heather.
Thank you.
Did we vote for a trial period on that?
No, you didn't.
You didn't.
No.
But you can discuss again in 6 months if you... it's a problem.
Sorry, I'm trying to get it.
All I'd say is that the clerk is, everyone she comes back before that tells us.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's causing excess work, we need to know.
Agreed.
Right, okay, that's those 3 items dealt with. Thank you. Decide upon the response to the following consultations. So we have 4 consultations. So Huntingdon District Council HDC statement for community involvement. This is probably one we should do, yes?
I haven't read these documents.
The next one is the Sustainability Appraisal Scoping Report. Then there's a Giddings, Winwick, Hamilton Neighbourhood Area Designation and a consultation on the proposed 2023 revision of local validation list for planning applications for the County Council's own development and for waste development. Right. So, of those 4 consultations, which ones do you think the Parish Council should actively take part in? I did make a comment last month that I think we should be involved when invited to, but there are some ones that I don't think we need to. So I would propose, if I'm going to guide, that we do 1 or 2 and not 3. But it's up to you.
I didn't want to
understand kicking and screaming.
Where are they?
They're going to put a neighbourhood plan together. So in order to do a joint neighbourhood plan, they first have to be designated as a neighbourhood area. So this is a precursor to the neighbourhood plan.
Miles away, isn't it?
But they're in Huntingdonshire, so you have the right to comment.
I don't feel the need to comment on that now. I've got to be honest.
No comment.
They can deal with that themselves.
We'll come to that
By
one.
resolution.
Yeah. Number 1, number 2. Number 1 we should have a look at it.
I'm very happy to go with whatever anybody says, but I haven't got the capacity to get involved with any of these, so
Okay.
I'd hate to vote for it and then land somebody else in it.
I'll be able to insist on anything we've got in favour of. Given that it's
Should we stick them both together?
6th of March.
They're separate
Oh, yeah,
items
yeah.
on the agenda, but you can do the consultation
Yeah.
response together, but they need a separate resolution for each one.
Yeah, so, are we going to do number 1? I propose that we do participate in consultation number 1. I'm happy to do it with
So it's
Nicola.
delegated to the clerk in consultation with.
And if anybody else would like to join us doing that, I'd be very happy. So otherwise, you can leave it to me and Nicola. Okay, I think that is a proposal. that we-
Yeah.
And it's been accepted and agreed that you and I are going to do number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, the sustainability appraisal scoping report. I think we should look at it. It might be, we may not wish to do it when we look at it, but again, I propose that me and Nicola do this. If anybody wants to join us, please do. I propose that. All in favour? Good. Number 3, I propose that we don't do. Number 4, the county council's own development and waste development. Well, if we're doing the other 2, might as well look at it, aren't we? I would have thought, because I think, again, it might be one that we look at and say, actually, we don't need to do it.
It might be worth a look just in case wasted.
Yeah, if they want to build something,
Furnace on our wilderness or something.
if they've decided that there's enough rubbish on the wilderness, they can put more on there, then fine. We'll vote against it. So I would propose that Nick and I look at that one as well.
Thank you.
Anybody goes away and thinks, I really should have said I wanted to be involved in that, please let us know. Right. Receive the financial reports. You've had the financial reports. We've blown a bit of money out of one budget, one reserve into somewhere else. Have anybody got any questions? We're going to get the band back together. No, we're going to call the finance committee together and have a look, because we're getting near to the end of the financial year, and see how well we've done. We haven't got enough reserves, have we, Nicola?
No, the reserves are going to be low.
But, hey, what are reserves for? Spend.
General reserves,
Yeah.
sorry.
There are earmarked reserves, and there are things to look at. Yeah, and see if we've got any more information on. But I don't suppose we have. No. So, but we'll call the finance committee together, and we will hopefully have a report from them for the April. Yeah. Should we do that? So I propose that we receive the financial reports unless anybody has any questions. And that's seconded by Rob. All those in favour? Thank you. Right, then the payments received. We've had the health project money in, £7,500 as anticipated. And not quite all spent yet.
Not yet.
No.
It did only come in on the 28th. I was quite busy writing an agenda.
So the next item on the agenda is approve the payments. We have green maintenance £525 and £208.34. Electricity £39.71. Payroll £1,022.05. Street lighting energy £191.62. Microsoft £11.28. Website hosting £26.74. That was voted on last month. Street lighting maintenance Yes, that was energy, wasn't it? £175.55. The new padlock, £88.69. Some tree surgery, £924, and 21-hour leaflet, 40 quid. Sorry, I should have proposed something.
Could I just ask about the amount of money that came from the health project? Who oversees how that is spent? Because we had a committee meeting or a subcommittee meeting to make suggestions. This has not been acknowledged, and is it behove us as councillors, or is it in the parish clerk to oversee the spending of this money?
In the last meeting, we had the agreement that was, because it went to the committee approved it and they gave us an agreement which prioritised some of the items that you proposed. So they prioritised the cricket and the cookery courses and the cricket equipment to be purchased before anything else, because the amount of money they gave us was slightly less than the total of everything that was applied for. So we have to adhere with that agreement. But in that agreement, which is in your supporting documents from last month, that details exactly what was applied for. But in terms of actually purchasing the equipment and organising the courses, that falls to me.
That's the answer that I wanted. Thank you. If you're requiring help with the cookery courses, I can use it.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
The bit I said I hadn't proposed to spend, I would like to the parish council, I'd like the parish council to give something to Duncan McMichael, be it a new chain for his saw, or oil for his chainsaw, or an amount of cash for his fantastic service he did. But I'll put it on for the next agenda meeting. That might be, but it's a spend I can authorise under my spending. Okay. But it won't be much, it won't be over 50 quid, but it will be an amount to try and, because he did a great job with that tree. Didn't have to, it was something. So, just to let you know. Right, next item on the... Oh, well, it'd be better to propose that we authorise that expenditure. And everybody's in favour of it. Thank you. Councillors' items, right. Heather. Nina. John.
No, thank you.
Rob. Claire.
I don't know whether you say it in this bit, but I just wondered whether it's pertinent to thank Kieran for his work and also for Graham for his work over many years that they have been linked to the council. And you perhaps obviously were going to say something, so I'm sorry that
that's all right, no,
you
that's
could
fine.
elaborate,
But thank
because I
you for
wasn't
doing
sure whether that was where we said.
That's great, thank you. So I've got three things. First thing is something in Spectrum this month, which is about the St Ives voluntary car scheme. So this is based strangely in St Ives, and they talk about wanting, there is a great need for more drivers, especially in Fenstanton and Hilton. They say, even if you can only offer one drive per fortnight, this would be a help, and there is no obligation to accept a drive. A driver gets 45p a mile, and a £1 booking fee, which is payable to the office to cover administration costs. And I would like us to put that on our contact the Jan Stone and say, is it right if we put this on our website and in our minutes, on our Facebook page, because they clearly state there is a need for more drivers in Fenstanton and Hilton. Couldn't go on the agenda because they only got Spectrum yesterday. So that's one. The other items we have are, firstly I'd like to thank Graham for being our village maintenance person over the last year or more, because he did it on a voluntary basis for a couple of years. And we will miss what he does because he just got on there and did it. And didn't need lots of direction as to what to do, where to do it, when to do it. So a big thank you to Graham for that. And previously he was parish councillor. And then to Kieran. I'm very sorry that Kieran has felt he needs to resign at the moment. I think Kieran came onto the parish council in July 2013 when I did. and has provided a great source of information and support to the Parish Council over the years, and I'm very sorry to see that he has resigned. That concludes the open part of the meeting, except we have to resolve to go into closed session to discuss the two items on the agenda, so I'm proposing that we do that. Second, are you in favour? Thanks. Thank you, members of the public.